Tēnā koutou. Hello, everyone. Ko Julia Hopkins taku ingoa. I'm Julia Hopkins, and I'm an Associate Director in the Public Sector team here at Westpac. Thank you so much for joining us for the next instalment of the Westpac Smarts webinar series. Westpac Smarts is a year-round speaker series aimed at helping Kiwi businesses set up for success. And a big welcome to everyone who regularly tunes in, and a warm welcome if you're joining us for the first time. At Westpac, we believe it's greater people who make for greater business. And we've designed this series to share expert knowledge and insights from our own people and from a variety of experts to help you in your business journey. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Linda Moore from MBIE. And the purpose of the session will be to have a talk about e-invoicing and how it can bring multiple benefits to your business. So before we kick off, I'll just go through some short housekeeping. This webinar is planned for 45 minutes, and we will have a Q&A running live on the right side of your screen. So please register your questions as they come to mind. If you like a question that's been raised by someone, please click on it, as that will increase its rating, and we'll work our way through the highest rated questions first. Okay, so straight into it. E-invoicing. The purpose of today is to empower you with the right information to take advantage of e-invoicing, which is a modern data-driven initiative that improves accuracy and timeliness of invoice payments. Many of us are familiar with the traditional way to receive invoices, such as getting a PDF, processing that internally, and then in some cases manually keying the information into the system. E-invoicing is the next step in that evolution. It enables invoice data to move directly and securely between a supplier's and customers' accounting system. So this removes that manual handling and as such reduces errors. We are very conscious that the current economic climate is turbulent. There's international headwinds and many local challenges. We know that New Zealand businesses are continuing to face cost pressures, tighter margins, and the importance of maintaining healthy cash flow is more critical than ever. And this is where e-invoicing can come into support. We also know that small to medium-sized businesses are the backbone of the New Zealand economy. They make up the vast majority of New Zealand businesses, play a critical role in driving employment and innovation, and to put it simply, where SMEs thrive, our economy thrives. So we will spotlight e-invoicing for SMEs to help them to reduce administration costs and improve cash flow. But there's also other benefits, such as when larger organisations embrace it. That's due to the fact they have extensive supplier networks, and by enabling e-invoicing, they can help create faster, more efficient, more secure payment processes. So, as I say, today I'm totally thrilled to be joined by Linda Moore from MBIE, who is driving e-invoicing engagement across the motu. MBIE are championing e-invoicing and are a great practical source of support and information. Welcome, Linda.
Julia, and it's great to be here today, and thanks to those attending the Westpac Smarts event. It's really great to see the interest in learning about what e-invoicing is and what it isn't, and the benefits for you and your business. I'm the Communications and Partnership Manager in the e-invoicing team at the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, or MBIE, as we like to shorten it to. Our team is responsible for driving the adoption of e-invoicing across New Zealand businesses and government. As Julie has mentioned, there's lots of benefits for businesses, no matter the size. So to help us with our session today and just make sure that we can tailor the questions, we'll just run a quick poll, and really interested to know of those who are here today, are you registered to receive e-invoices? Good. No, that's okay. You will know by the end of today's session about how you can get registered to receive. I'm not sure if everybody's answered that question. Oh, there's a few. Great. And for many people, they may have registered themselves to receive, or they may have got their accountant to register them to receive, or Xero, for example, have done a recent registration on behalf of their users. So there are different ways that you may have been registered to receive. But
Awesome. Maybe, Linda, we could start by just walking through from the top what e-invoicing is and how it differs from traditional methods, so people will be keen to jump on board.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Before I do though, because it does help if people could answer that question about what accounting package they're using, that would be great. We do know that for many small businesses, Xero and MYOB are the sort of two key packages that small businesses use, but there are lots out there as well. But good to see there's a mix there. Oh, that's fantastic. So yeah, there are some misconceptions about what e-invoicing is, and I'll get into that in more detail first. But before we do that, can we just show the video of and that this video will really just help explain what e-invoicing is and what it isn't.
If you're in business today, you'll want to know about e-invoicing. It's a digital offering that brings a smart approach to invoicing, so manual handling can become a thing of the past. Let's set a few things straight. E-invoicing means no paper, no PDFs, no scanning, and no email. It's an exchange of invoice information directly between suppliers and buyers' financial systems, even if these systems are different. It improves accuracy and security, reduces processing time, and speeds up payments. Great news for cash flow. To get started, talk to your accounting or financial software provider about their plans to provide e-invoicing enabled services. Find out more at einvoicing.govt.nz. E-invoicing, the smarter way of invoicing.
Fantastic. So now that you've seen that video, you'll realise that e-invoicing is not emailing a PDF to customers. It's understandable that you might think that because, I create my invoice in my accounting software, creates a PDF and then email it to my customer. That's e-invoicing, isn't it? But no, in the video, it's about sending invoice data from one accounting system to another using agreed common standards, and it doesn't matter if your customer uses a different accounting system to yours. So as long as your customer is registered to receive e-invoices, you can send them. Of course, you also need to have accounting software that is capable of sending e-invoices, but most businesses have access to that software. And if you're wondering about how does the invoicing system know where to send the invoice to, and that's where the New Zealand business number comes into play. So that's the unique identifier that makes sure that e-invoices are sent to the right place. And when you register to receive e-invoices, you need to be able to provide your NZBN. So I liken e-invoicing to internet banking or the mobile phone network. There's a whole lot of smarts behind the scenes that make sure that your text message gets to the right place, regardless of what phone you use or what phone the other person uses, or even regardless of which telco they're with. And again, when you're making an internet banking payment, it all works between the different banks. So you don't have to be sending to this a person that is banking with the same bank that you do. So invoicing is the same. And what makes it work is your NZBN and your customers' NZBNs.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Linda. And we've picked out some of our favourite benefits that we think e-invoicing will bring, not just SMEs, but also the wider business network. And I think a few of these challenges that we're going to chat about should resonate with a lot of people. And the first one is you can be confident that your invoice is going to the right place. how often have you sent an invoice through to the person that you think is responsible for paying it, only for them to be on leave or shifted within the business, or it might not be their remit to process the invoice, and then that delays you getting paid. eInvoices solves for that. Another really great benefit is how digitized and succinct the information is. So there's no manual input or information required to process the e-invoice. So that removes time as well. One really interesting initiative, and this is coming out of government really backing e-invoices, is the timeliness in which e-invoices are getting paid. So if you're a supplier to government, they are mandated to pay 95% of all e-invoices within 5 business days, where in which other invoices received through more traditional channels, they have that 10 business day target. So we're naturally going to start to see those invoices getting paid quicker. And one thing that's very close to my heart is how e-invoices helps reduce fraud. So you might have seen examples of supplier fraud, where in which you might have had a supplier for many years. You get an email that says that they've changed their bank account number, and you have to do your very best to ensure that that bank account number change is legitimate. Sometimes human error pops up in there and you inadvertently, money goes to a fraudster. E-invoicing will reduce and mitigate the opportunity for that chain of supplier fraud to continue to happen. So that's something that I'm really, really keen to see get adopted.
Yeah, that's a great example of how e-invoicing would have avoided that kind of thing happening. You know, many of you may not have experienced invoice fraud and you don't think it'll happen to you, but it does happen. And, you know, cyber crime is a growth industry. So there are benefits for you when you receive, you know, your e-invoices into your system, you know, because an e-invoice can't be intercepted like an email can be. It can't be tampered with like a PDF can be tampered with. So some really good safeguards in there. And as Julia mentioned, when you think about receiving an email PDF, you know, you've got to open the email, you've got to open the PDF, you've got to enter that invoice information into your accounting system. Well, that all disappears with the invoices because it goes straight into your accounting system. There's no manual data entry or copying, pasting. So it really does reduce that admin burden. And it also means that the invoice data is more accurate. So no transposing of numbers and things. So all of that really helps just reduce the admin around that. So, you know, and your accountants and bookkeepers, they'll love you, because when it comes to them doing the end of the year accounts and things, they won't be going, what's that invoice for? I don't know what that's for. I don't know what expense or account I should be coding that to. With e-invoicing, all that information is there, so it'll be as really clear for them to do that. So yeah, and all of those things just, it means a smoother process for your customer who's receiving your e-invoices. It's going to speed up the process, which means they're probably able to pay you faster. So that helps with improving that cash flow. And as I also mentioned earlier about many small businesses use Xero or MYOB, and many of you who are on the call today have said that, and that's great to see. So for those, the e-invoicing capability is available to you now, and it's at no cost. It's all part of the subscription that you pay for these platforms, so there's no additional cost.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like it's a no-brainer to switch to e-invoicing, Linda. And I do know that Westpac has been receiving e-invoices for a while now. We were one of the first banks to do so. Are there many other businesses adopting e-invoicing?
Short answer is yes. So there are more than 110,000 businesses who are registered to receive, and that's about a third of New Zealand businesses that use cloud accounting. You know, and there's been nearly 1 million e-invoices that have been exchanged between businesses to date. So it's tracking at over 50,000 a month. But yeah, and most of the businesses that are registered to receive e-invoices, they are using that invoicing capable software such as Xero and MYOB. So, it means that it's available for them to do already. And many large businesses are sending invoices to their small business customers as well, or they're beginning to implement that too. So, for example, Bunnings have been sending invoices to their customers now for over a year. And then there's the likes of Office Max, One New Zealand, Fonterra, Robert Walters. There's lots of large businesses that are really have been participating as well. And also the telcos and the electricity companies are beginning to ramp up over the next 12 months. So that's great. And of course, government has been leading the way as well. There's over 75 government agencies, including a handful of local councils who can now send or receive. And that's really helping drive and get more adoption and use of e-invoices over time. So, and some of you may have heard that late last year, through the government procurement rules, it was announced that government agencies must ensure their large suppliers begin sending e-invoices to them from January 2027. So with that encouraging large businesses to join as well, it also has a flow-on effect for small businesses.
That's great. It sounds like there's significant take-up from across the different groups, and some big names there. But how easy is it for businesses to sign up for e-invoicing, and what do they need to do differently when they're preparing and sending invoices? And you mentioned around cost before as well.
Yeah. Well, it's really easy for most small businesses, and some of you have indicated today that you're already registered to receive, and some of you aren't. So we might just show you actually how that works. So if we put up the next slide, and we'll begin with Xero. It's really easy to register to receive e-invoices within the Xero package. You just go into the business menu and click on bills to pay, and then this will appear, and you just enter your business's NZBN number, your New Zealand business number, and that might automatically appear because you should have that set up in your organisation settings. You just complete a few details, complete the registration, and you're done. So it's really easy, really easy. And if you go to the next slide, we can show you how it looks for those who use MYOB. Again, really easy. You just go into the settings, sales settings, choose e-invoicing, get started, and again, you just enter your business details, agree to the terms and conditions, and you register for e-invoicing. So it's a 2-second job.
Fantastic. It looks quite intuitive as well, Linda, with both systems, so that's great. Just touching on something you mentioned around NZBNs being needed, any tips or clarity that you can share on that?
Yeah, as I mentioned, NZBNs are critical. So that's the unique identifier that makes sure your e-invoices get to the right place. And so that means for businesses that are sending e-invoices, they need to have their customers' NZBNs recorded in the customer contact records in their accounting system. Now, there are over 1 million entities in New Zealand with an NZBN, so it's highly likely that your trading partners already have one and you have one. But how do I know what my customer's NZBN is, you ask? So if we put up the next slide, it's really easy to find out. You can just go to the nzbn.govt.nz website, and you just use the search function, enter the name of the business of your customer, and they'll pop up some options. But there is a bit of a watch out because some businesses have very similar names. And as you can see on the screen with the example here, we've got Wellington City Council. There's a few different options there. So sometimes it pays to just double check with your customer if you're unsure about which should be your NZBN. But that's a really easy way for you to go and find the NZBN number of your customers. Or you can just ask your customer when you first collect their details.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I know here at Westpac, we did reach out to our suppliers to capture their NZBNs. And we also use those NZBNs to validate the supplier. And it's another good diligence to make sure we're paying the right supplier. But how do you know which of your customers can receive e-invoices, Linda?
Yeah, that's a really good question, especially while e-invoicing is still growing in New Zealand. There's a few ways you can do that. You could simply ask your customer. But what we do on the e-invoicing website, we actually publish a list of all the businesses who are registered to receive invoices, and that list has their business name and their NZBN. So it's a good way for you to collect their NZBN.
Perfect.
Even better though is that in some software systems they'll indicate whether your customer can receive e-invoices. So if we go to the next slide, I'll show you how it looks for Xero. So if you're a Xero user, you would create an e-invoice as normal. You'd add in the contact details of your of who you're going to send, of your customer, of who you're going to send the invoice to. And as you can see down the bottom there, there's a little toggle that says send as an e-invoice, and underneath it says this contact is set up to receive e-invoices. So it tells you you don't even have to ask or think about it. And then you just complete your invoice as normal. You move the little toggle along, excuse me, and then, make sure you've got all your details in there, and then just agree and approve and send. So it's as simple as that. So one, it shows you that which customers can receive an e-invoice, and two, it's so simple to do. So it's no additional burden for you to do that. And you can include attachments. So if you've got an Excel spreadsheet of a list of products that you've provided them, if you have a lot, or if it's a timesheet and things, so you can attach other documents when that goes through with that e-invoice to your customer. So really easy. Just a little watch out. So if we just go to the next slide, many businesses, particularly larger businesses, ask for purchase order numbers or some reference to put on your invoice. And so there just is a little watch out there that if you do have a customer that says, give me the purchase, I've got a purchase order number I want you to put in there, you do need to prefix it with PO : and then whatever format the purchase order number is. And that the reason for that is that makes sure that whoever's receiving your e-invoice, that the data goes to the right place in their system. So it's just a little watch out. But yeah, pretty straightforward. And then if we go to the next slide, you'll be able to see how it works for MBIE users. So again, it's just the same. You would complete an invoice as normal and put in the purchase order number or the description. You can also attach files as well. And then if you go to the next slide, you'll be able to see that when you've finished completing all the invoice details, on the top right, you go to the share menu and you choose send e-invoices. So again, simple as for both MYOB and Xero users to send e-invoices. So it's really straightforward.
Fantastic. So on the other side, what does it look like when you receive an e-invoice?
That's a good question. And again, if we go to the next slide, for Xero users, you just simply go to your draft bills and it'll just appear in there. So you would need to edit to apply the account or expense allocation for the goods or services. And under history and notes, you'll see a note that the bill was, the invoice was received through e-invoices. Through e-invoicing, and you would approve and schedule payment as usual. And then for MYOB users, it appears in uploads, and you can choose to create a bill from there. So again, it's really easy, but probably just a point to note is that you still have control over the approval and the payment of the invoice. So although the invoice automatically arrives in your accounting system, it's not automatically approved and paid. So you still need to do that, which is really good because you want to have control over that payment.
Yeah, most definitely. That's comforting to know. So you've walked us through how easy it is for Xero and MYOB, which we know have a strong market share across small businesses and fantastic platforms. But what about if an organisation is not using Xero and MYOB? What other software can be enabled for e-invoicing, and how do they find out if their software package is enabled?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's nearly 70 e-invoicing software ready products available in New Zealand today. And we have them listed on our invoicing website. So you can go and check to see if the one that you use is on the list. And if it's not on the list, get in touch. We'd love to be able to add more software providers on there. Now, I'm not as familiar with other software platforms, but the process to register and then to send or receive e-invoices is probably very similar to what you've seen today through Xero or MYOB. Your software provider is sure to provide some instructions on how to do that. Now, it's probably different for larger businesses though, and I would just recommend that you check with your provider or check that list to see if your finance system or your ERP system is compatible or not. But we know the likes of TechOne, Oracle, SAP, many of them, those already have e-invoicing capability. So I just recommend you check in with them. In some cases, for larger organisations as well, they need to get an access point provider to connect you to the e-invoicing network. So there are other software products and ways to get going with the invoicing.
Fantastic. It sounds like we should be well covered with those 70 organisations packages that are already enabled. So thanks for that, Linda. I'm just about to open up for the audience questions. Are there any other tips that you'd like to share before I do so?
Yeah, just a couple of things from me. I guess the more that businesses are sending and receiving e-invoices, the more all businesses benefit from invoicing. So at the beginning of the session we talked about how it reduces admin and gets time savings and the potential to get paid faster. The more that you and your trading partners do e-invoicing, the greater the benefit. So I just really encourage you to get your organisation and your trading partners on board. And as you can see, it's really easy to get going. And a quick way to experience receiving e-invoices for Xero users is to opt in to receive your Xero subscription bill. So yeah, and just lastly, we have a lot more information and resources available on the e-invoicing website, so check it out. I understand there'll be links sent out after the session, and there is some information on the Westpac website too about what e-invoicing is. So yeah, that's it from me, but yeah, looking forward to hearing what kind of questions we have.
Fantastic. So our first question is, do you know if there is any additional cost being registered for e-invoices or to send them from your accounting software?
It's a good question. For most small businesses, it's free. So it's e-invoicing is natively part of your e-invoicing package like Xero or MYOB, and it's all part of your subscription. So there's no additional cost. For larger organisations, there probably is a bit of a cost to get set up, but there are many different implement pathways, and sometimes it can be really simple and easy and quite minimal cost and time, but it's really quite specific to your organisation's situation.
Yeah, and I can imagine the upfront cost is just to get set up, and then you see the benefits of a more secure, faster way to send and receive invoices moving forward. Our next question is e-invoicing really more secure than email, Linda?
Oh, absolutely, yes. So the key thing is that emails can be intercepted, whereas e-invoices can't be intercepted. So it goes through a secure network, and you heard me talk about access point providers, and they have to be accredited with the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment. So they have to pass strict, secure protocols to do that. So it is very secure in terms of the data going through that network, whereas emails can be intercepted, PDFs can be tampered with. So it's much more secure than emailed PDFs.
Fantastic. And then our audience is keen to understand if e-invoicing really will help them get paid faster.
There's no guarantees they'll be paid faster, but all those things that usually delays invoices getting paid gets eliminated. So it's not sitting in someone's inbox. There's been no errors in it being numbers transposed and things like so that kind of thing. So because it gets into the system pretty instantly, actually, compared to an email PDF. So it's a lot more quicker to get into the system. It's more accurate, so there's probably less issues with getting it approved within your organisation. So all of those things just help smooth the process and means that your customer is in a better position to be able to approve and then pay it. So it usually does, and we have seen evidence of faster payments, particularly across government. We've, some are getting paid within a day or 24 hours, so it's really fast.
Sure. And then we have a question from Paul. It's around what steps, where do I start with getting e-invoicing enabled? So who do I talk to and how do I get my customers on board?
That's great. I guess the first thing is to check whether the software that you have it can send or receive e-invoices. And as I mentioned, we've got that list on our website. Or you could just check with that software provider's their website and see if they have that capability. And so that would be the first step. The other step is really just making sure you've got your own NZBN number set up within your organisation settings within your accounting package. Collect the NZBN numbers of your customers and your suppliers. And as I mentioned earlier as well, we have a list of businesses who are registered to receive. So you can go and check that list and compare it to your own list of customers to see if you've got a bunch there that they're able to receive e-invoices. And if they're already registered, you could probably just send off an e-invoice without even telling the customer, because if they've registered to receive, it'll just appear in their system. So in some cases, you don't even need to talk with your customer about it. You could just go ahead and do that. But I do encourage you to talk with your customers, and even when you are registered to receive, let your suppliers know. We've got some really simple email templates again on our website for you to adapt to your own situation, and you can just email your suppliers, just like you did back in the day when you said, hey, we don't want paper invoices through the mail anymore. Can you email me a PDF? Well, now it's time to tell them, hey, I prefer to receive e-invoices now. Don't want to get your email PDF. It'll be much quicker and faster and smoother for you. So, so it's all about just having that good communication with your suppliers and your customers.
Nice. We have a question from Steve. It looks like Steve is operating a couple of accounting systems. So using Xero for e-commerce, and there's a DMS for workshop and other sales, which is not e-invoicing capable. I think his question is how, if he's registered with Xero, how would they get those invoices for in-person sales through?
I'm not sure I can answer that, but I know that there are some add-ons that Xero has that allows you to import your information or your invoices into your Xero system and then send them out as e-invoices. But it probably pays to check with Xero's their website and see if that works for you.
Okay. Got heaps of questions here, which is fantastic. Just keeping up with them all. A question here around wider adoption, Linda. What's the biggest barrier to wider adoption?
It's really just, particularly in the small business space, is just that those misconceptions where they think, oh, I'm emailing a PDF, so that's e-invoicing. So they haven't really clicked on that that's what it
Okay.
is. So definitely a little bit of awareness and understanding of what e-invoicing is could be just a mental barrier for that. And, we have heard that businesses, it's just the usual, I'll do it when others are doing it kind of thing. So, we do need those early adopters to encourage others to do that. But as you can see from today, it's really easy to get going. And I do liken it the movement from checks to internet banking as well. It took quite a few years. Hopefully we don't take that long. But it does we're doing a lot of work working with government and working with large businesses, encouraging businesses to get on board. But it does require the business community as well to just go, hey, this is the way we're going to do it going forward. Email PDFs, that's old fashioned now. We're in the new way. So it'll just take a little bit of time. But, definitely now that we've got more than 100,000 businesses registered to receive, that should definitely create some momentum.
Fantastic. And then a couple of questions around Xero. How different is it sending directly from Xero to Xero, other than being sent from another platform to Xero?
Yeah, probably one of the things that we didn't really touch on is that with e-invoicing, it's an open network, meaning that any business can participate. And yes, I understand that you can do Xero to Xero, but you don't necessarily know if all your customers are using Xero. But so if your customers are using other software products, that means that they can send invoices to them as well. So it's open to all businesses. The good thing about the e-invoicing standard that's used in New Zealand, it's called PEPO, and I won't get into the technical details of that, but it's just one standard for all New Zealand businesses and means all of them can participate, and it's at very low or minimal cost. Whereas some large businesses say, can you log into this portal and email me, or and load up your invoice, and that's only for that large business, and no one else can use that network, for want of a better word. And so you might have lots of large business suppliers, and you've got to log into multiple different portals to send your invoices. With e-invoicing, it's straight out of your accounting system, and it doesn't matter what system the other business is using. So that explains things.
Sure. And then from a receiving perspective, when you receive an invoice from a supplier, does a PDF copy of an invoice get saved into the transaction?
It depends on the software that you're using, but most of them do. So there's two things. One is PDF invoices can go across the e-invoicing network with the e-invoice data itself. So that it's possible. The other thing is whether your software can store that. So you might need to just check with your specific software to see if that happens. And a lot of people, that is a little bit of a change aspect in terms of people getting used to the change. So they like to see what the PDF looks like. That's what they're used to, and it just gives them comfort and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But it's still, the data that's come through should be the same as what's on that PDF.
Sure. And then just from a personalization perspective, can you add your company logo onto the e-invoice?
Generally not. So that would be part of so generally not. That would be part of the PDF if you decide to attach that. Yeah. Okay. Again, that's that kind of thing I like to see. That gives me comfort that it's from the right person and from the right customer. But that's where the security of the invoicing network and using the NZBN numbers to make sure that they get to the right person and the right organisation, and also those who are sending the invoice, their NZBN number data goes across. So again, it helps with the customer receiving it to know, to be able to validate who that supplier is.
Sure. What happens if I'm all registered for e-invoicing and ready to go, but my customers and suppliers aren't?
Yeah, that will just take some time, but I just encourage you to, talk with your suppliers and your customers, and again, they might not be aware of what e-invoicing is, and they may not be aware that their software has the capability already. So it's really just keeping the communication up with your trading partners and talking about it.
Sure. And then, are there any plans for e-invoicing to become mandatory in New Zealand?
So for government agencies, government agencies are required to send and or receive e-invoices. It is based on a threshold of 2,000 invoices a year. So if your government agency receives more than 2,000 invoices over a year, then they're required to be able to receive e-invoices. So there is some sort of mandatory aspects in place for government agencies. And as I mentioned, for larger organisations who supply to government agencies, they will be required to send invoices from January next year. So there is some sort of mandated things in place, but there's no mandate in place saying that all businesses must send or receive e-invoices from X date. That's not in place. And we think that just with the momentum that we're getting now and with the benefits of e-invoicing, it's again, the check to internet banking is you just figure it out. You go, it's much better. I'll just, it just makes sense to switch to that.
Yeah, understood. And then final question we have is around AI. Is e-invoicing enabled in any shape with AI, or does it interact with AI?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I think with AI, it's going to evolve and learn, and at some point, that sort of thing will probably come into play. But at the moment, it's just a huge benefit to have digital invoices with no human interaction, really.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for your questions, and I'll wrap us up now. So the key takeouts are: e-invoicing helps businesses to reduce administration, improve cash flow through getting paid faster. It's easier to get started than you might think. Most platforms are already enabled with e-invoicing, and the sign-up process is straightforward. And the benefits are going to grow as more organisations participate. So whether you're a small business, larger business, or a government supplier, e-invoicing is going to create a much more efficient, secure ecosystem for getting paid and sending e-invoices. The more customers and suppliers that adopt it, the greater value. So if you have a moment, please take the opportunity to share your feedback at the end of the session. And also, we would love it for you to suggest any topics or speakers that you'd like to hear from in future. So that leads me to say ka kite anō, and see you again next time. And thank you, Linda.
Thank you for having me, Julia.